Tour. How do you easily integrate a retail store shopping cart within a Matterport tour? And how do you easily add live streaming shopping events within a Matterport tour? Stay tuned. Hi all, I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. Today is Thursday, April 21, 2022, and you're watching WGAN-TV live at 5. We have an awesome show for you today. How to add a shopping cart and live shopping events to Matterport tours powered by Openhaus. And our guest today is Carson Clement. Hey, Carson, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, Dan. My pleasure. It's an honor.
Carson is one of the co-founders of Openhaus. Their website, openhaus.app, openhaus.app. Carson, I thought it would be awesome if we just jump into a demo, and I want to really do kind of three personalities today. Someone who's shopping within a Matterport tour. Once we're done with that, I want to ask you about someone who is a retail or e-commerce merchant, so that we see the front end from their experience as well as the back end of Openhaus, and then from a Matterport Pro's perspective. Does that sound like a plan?
Perfect. Sounds like a good plan to me.
Awesome. If you could go share your screen and take us through the Matterport tour powered by Openhaus to show us what a retail shopping experience feels like within a Matterport tour.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me share my screen here, and then kind of before I move around and jump in here, when we started Openhaus, our goal was we wanted to help people create the best 3D shopping experiences that we could. And so everything that we do at Openhaus is really focused on basically helping people turn their Matterport tours into a 3D virtual shopping experience. And so as I go through this, we'll talk about some of the problems that we're facing a Matterport tour. But that's really our focus. And I think because this audience is really aware of what a Matterport tour is, you can kind of think of Openhaus as a commerce layer on top of Matterport. So our goal is to build the best commerce layer possible on top of a Matterport tour. So jumping into the first persona that you mentioned, Dan, and I have to apologize too. I'm going to be sipping on water throughout. It is full bloom here in Texas, so my allergies are a little crazy, but hopefully my voice doesn't crack too much. But anyways, what you're looking at right here is actually it's an influencer's home, and so we work a lot with retailers and also with influencers who share their homes, and kind of just a variety of different people, but they all have one thing in common. They want to create a 3D shopping experience of their space, whether it's their living room, their retail store, their trade show booth, etc. So put yourself in the shoes of a follower of this woman named Molly Openshaw, and this is her living room that she created in coordination with a brand called Austin Avenue. She created a 3D shopping experience from her living room. So her followers love her design, they love her aesthetic, and they love her product recommendations. And so as I'm taken into Molly's living room right here, I can walk around and shop the products inside. So what she's done is, in partnership with Austin Avenue, she has tagged products inside of her home that she is featured here. So if I click on, for example, this oversized coffee table right here, you can see as I click on the product tag, the product modal appears, and I can see the price, the name, the description, and I can add it to my cart. I'm done with that, so I'll just keep exploring this little living room space. Something else I'll point out too is, let me mute this.
Here,
but
this room.
You can see up here in the top right, Molly's actually walking me through her living room and talking to me about the products that are inside here. So let's suppose I want to also shop this pillow right here. I'll click on this pillow, same exact thing. I'll add it to my cart and exit the product model. And so It's pretty self-explanatory, but as a user, I can shop Molly's space. So Molly created a 3D Matterport tour, tagged the products inside, and basically what she's done is she's told her followers to go and explore her space on their own time. It's as though it's basically the closest thing Molly can get to actually having someone come and visit and shop inside of her living room. And so when I'm done as a user, I can click my cart right here. I can see the products that I've added to my cart, and then I can proceed to checkout. So a couple other features I'll point out too from a user perspective. If I'm walking around and shopping inside of Molly's home here, I can click on this products icon right here, and I can actually see all of the products that have been tagged in the space right here, so I can navigate to them easily. And then I can also, along with this video, I can make it bigger, smaller, mute and unmute, etc. So from, I guess, persona number one, just a user walking around and shopping inside of a space, that's basically it. And like I said,
I see something in the bottom right corner, save.
Yes. So this is a feature that we're testing right now, but what this allows you to do, and I might have to, oh, there we go. Perfect. So this will actually save what you're looking at. And so we're testing this feature with a couple of people right now. Because I'm logged into my Openhaus account, I click save, and it will actually save what I'm looking at to my Openhaus account. And like I said, we're rolling that out, kind of testing it with some people, but it allows you to kind of save what you're looking at, save ideas as you go along. And then the button right above that is obviously a share button, so I can easily get a link to copy and share that with a friend if I wanted to. So did I miss anything, Dan? Any questions and answer? Or,
I think there was something in the top left. Maybe you'll talk about that from Molly's perspective.
Yes.
I can see it says Austin Avenue. I see Utah. I see a flip house.
Correct. So what you're looking at in the top left, so like I mentioned, Molly did this in coordination with a brand called Austin Avenue. And so it's Austin Avenue branded. So that up here is just the logo of the brand that kind of sponsored this experience. A flip house is just the name of the space that Molly gave it. And it's just indicating that it's located here, or not here, but in Utah.
If you clicked on Utah, would it take you to a map and you'd find Molly's home if she chose to put, let's say, an actual retail store address?
Not right now, but I think that's a great feedback. I think that would be cool. We actually have had some retailers ask, how can we get a contact form or kind of a Google Maps integration to get directions to the space to visit in person. But
okay,
right now,
Carson, I think that kind of segues into from Molly's perspective of what we're looking at.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to switch us up and go to a different retailer for kind of the second persona that you mentioned at the top, Dan, from the perspective of a brand or a retailer. So just to kind of set the stage here, this is one of our customers here in Texas. They're called Scout Design Studio. And what we did is we helped them turn their retail store and their showroom into a 3D shopping experience. So just like I demoed with Molly's home, I can walk around the Scout Design Studio space and shop the products that they have staged in their retail store. From the perspective of Scout Design Studio, I think, there are basically three problems that a retailer or someone that wanted to make a tour shoppable, there's three problems that they were faced and that we're trying to solve here at Openhaus. The first issue is actual shoppability, actually being able to add to a cart and check out from inside of a Matterport tour. Everyone that we've talked to up to this point said that was one of the things holding them back, was that before Openhaus, most of the experiences shopping wise with Matterport was basically just a Matter tag was on a product, and then you had to link out and go view that product on a different web page, and you were taken away from the experience. And that wasn't desirable. So we already demonstrated that, as I'm walking around the space, I can click, add it to cart, and it all stays within the tour. I'm not leaving. I don't have to go to a different product page. Problem number two that we faced with creating these shopping experience is product data. And so if you put yourself in the shoes of Scout Design Studio, if you've ever tagged a lot of matter tags in a space before, you know it can take a long time. And also with product catalog data, there is a lot of data vectors to keep up or to actually put inside of a space. For this Scout Design Studio showroom, for example, when we help them create this experience, there's actually over 500 plus tags inside of this space. So they've tagged 500 products inside of here. And when you think about how each product has multiple data vectors, what I mean by data vectors is each product has multiple details that make it a product. For example, if I click on this sofa right here, it has the brand name, it has a product name, it has a price, it has a description, it has an inventory count that you don't see here. It has a weight, it has shipping options, and I could go on and on. Basically, each product itself has about 10 to 20, even depending on the store setup, 10 to 20 details of data that needs to be, I guess, imported into a 3D shopping experience and then kept up to date. So for the Scout Design Studio showroom, like I said, they tagged over 500 products inside this space. If each of those products has 10 details that need to be present to actually make it a product, 10 times 500, we're at 5,000 individual data points that need to be brought into this space in order to make it, an actual shopping experience. And if you've tagged a space before Open House, copying and pasting 5,000 different product details into a Matterport tour, as you can imagine, is pretty time consuming. So that's problem number 2, is the product data involved. There's so much product data in order to create a 3D shopping experience, to create it in general, but then also to keep it up. And so from Scout Design Studio's perspective, we've helped them connect their Shopify store to their Open House account to make that product data available inside of the space and to keep it up to date. And I can show you right here. So this is what we call.
Before you go into the back end, could I just trouble you go back to the front end on that? And just from Scout's perspective, because there are some real estate here. There's something in the top right. There's something in the top left. What's their perspective on those elements?
Yeah. Just on the user interface in general.
I imagine that they like having their logo in the top left.
Correct. Yeah. And I think that was problem number 3 that I was going to address. Is the third issue with creating these spaces was brands really want to have a branded experience. And so whether you're on Scout Design Studio's Instagram, their website, TikTok, or inside of their 3D shopping experience, they want it to be brand cohesive. And so what we've helped them do, and what we help all our customers do, is actually really make this seem like a brand cohesive experience. So up top, we're actually using Scout Design Studio's colors. We're using Scout Design Studio's fonts from their website. Obviously, you can see our matter tags. We have a custom Scout Design Studio tag that marks the products. And then I think I mentioned we have their fonts, colors, etc., logo in the top to basically make this seem like a really brand cohesive experience when you're going from their website to this experience, etc.
And lastly, before we go to the back end, the top right where it says Open House.
Yes. So we, depending on, I guess the requirements of the customer, basically what this will do is it will just link out to Open House's website. And we view it kind of as a powered by Open House. It's our opportunity, I guess, to show that we helped power this. But depending on your pricing plan, et cetera, we can also hide any Open House branding as well. But that wasn't a priority for Scout Design Studio in this case.
Okay, great. And if Carson, if we could take a look at the back end, because yes, I've added a lot of matter tags to a Matterport tour. And more importantly, I've had clients who then changed what they wanted. So I'm really curious how you manage 500 tags that have 10 pieces of data or 5,000 fields, essentially, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just remembered too, Dan, and I think you'll find this really helpful too. Before I jump into the back end, one thing I failed to highlight, and I need to go back to, this is a previous version of their space, but we think this is really important because you might have inside of a Matterport tour, you might have a lot of products in one small location. And sometimes it might make more sense for you to have one tag for multiple products. And so hopefully I'm clicking on the right one here, but here is an example of what we call a product group. And so rather than this wall having, dozens of tags on it, this wall actually has one tag. And so if I click on it, you can see all of the books that have been tagged or that appear on this wall. And so when you have a small space with lots of small items, these product groups can also really help improve the experience for a retailer and their experience. So that was just one other point I wanted to show, but going into the back end. So this is called our Open House portal. And it's basically where our clients manage all things Open House. This is my dashboard. We're working on our metrics product, which we hope to launch either by the end of this month or mid-May. But as I scroll down, I'll just highlight a couple different things here. One is my spaces. Two is my accounts. This isn't necessarily applicable to Scout Design, but we'll get into what accounts are here in a bit, I'm sure. I can also manage my custom styles, and I can manage my commerce connections, orders that have been placed through Open House. And we have a little capture tool that helps you capture some 2D images inside of the space. But the point we were on was commerce connection. So as I mentioned, Scout Design Studio, they use Shopify for their e-commerce backend. And so I'll click Manage Commerce, select Scout Design Studio, and you can see that I can manage my Shopify connection here, and I'm connected to Scout Design Studio .myshopify.com. So it's just saying that we have a connection made here. We have a different cadence depending on the needs of the brands for how often we sync their product catalog with their Open House account. But anyways, that happens automatically, but I can also manually sync, if I needed to right here. And
I think what I heard is you could schedule how often the sync takes place, or perhaps when it takes place.
Correct. Yep. So depending on the needs of the business, it can take significant computing resources to basically sync these product catalogs, depending on how big. Some may only be dozens of products, some may be tens of thousands of products. But depending on how often you need that product data to be synced and up to date inside of your 3D experiences, we just schedule that out when we help you get set up on Open House.
So just to clarify for someone that I know we're going to talk about Matterport Pros when we complete talking about it from a retailer's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But let's not make an assumption that everyone understands syncing. So what does that mean? Why does that matter?
Yeah, great question. So basically, and I guess if you haven't come from an e-commerce or a retail perspective or background, you might not know, but these brands and these retailers are actually updating their product data fairly frequently. And what I mean by that is product prices might change if something goes on sale. Product descriptions might change. Inventory level obviously changes, and whether a product is in stock or out of stock, that changes very frequently. And so there's always a need. One of the biggest problems in e-commerce is the ability to sync your product catalog data, meaning product descriptions, prices, inventories, et cetera, with your shopping experiences. And so the reason why we need to sync or update your product catalog inside of Open House is because if you're a brand using Shopify and you put products on sale, that change in the price does not magically just appear everywhere. There actually needs to be some data synchronization that takes place between your Shopify product catalog and your shoppable Matterport tour. And so you can think of Openhaus as basically a bridge between your Shopify or whatever e-commerce catalog you have and your Matterport tours. So if on a daily or weekly basis or even hourly basis, you need to update your product data inside of your Matterport tour, we make that really, really seamless. And as I mentioned, Dan, when I was showing you Scout Design Studio space, you might have 5,000 different details that you need to make sure are up to date in your product catalog versus your Matterport tour. And that's really just impossible to do if you're trying to do it manually and change those matter tags yourself inside of Matterport's dashboard. And so Scout,
what happens if I don't have a Shopify account? I'm a retailer or an e-commerce business and I use a different platform.
Yeah, great question. So we are working our hardest to create integrations with all major shopping platforms or e-commerce platforms. We started with Shopify, but we're actively working on an integration with Magento and an integration with BigCommerce, which are essentially Shopify competitors. But in the meantime, if you want to get up and going with Openhaus before we have an integration for Magento, say, we actually have this option down here that you can see where you can add and update products via CSV. And basically this allows you to just download a CSV file from your e-commerce platform, which most of them make it really easy to do. And then you can upload that file here and it will automatically either add the products to Openhaus to make available for you or update those products if they're already in our catalog.
Great.
And just kind of touching on this point, I just really want to emphasize how important this product data synchronization is. Scout Design Studio is a great example of why this is important. So Scout Design Studio, they sell several different types of products, but I'm going to navigate to the back of the store here to kind of show you what I'm trying to get at. They sell multiple different types of products. Some of those products they actually can replenish inventory for. So if it's like a print or something, they can actually get more inventory for it if they sell out. But a lot of their products, and you can kind of tell just by looking around, they have some really unique vintage products that once they sell the one they have on the floor, it's gone. And so the reason why that's an issue is because they have multiple channels, multiple ways of selling that. And so if someone in the retail store sells this in person to a customer, well, that product can no longer be available for sale on the website, on social media, or inside of their Matterport tour. And so just as a demonstration of this, when we actually initially created this 3D shopping experience with Scout Design Studio, all of these products that you see right here were tagged. All of these vintage side tables and nightstands were tagged, but because those products were sold inside of either on their website or through the tour, et cetera, because those products were sold and effectively inventory went to zero, because they're using Openhaus, those matter tags, those product tags were automatically hidden. So a person that's visiting this 3D experience wouldn't be able to purchase those because they don't have inventory for it. And obviously that helps make customers less angry if they purchase a product that they actually aren't allowed to purchase. So that's, I guess, just kind of a visual representation of why this product data synchronization is so important, because inventory levels, prices, descriptions, et cetera, this data changes throughout, the days and weeks of operating your e-commerce business. So a couple other things I'll note here real fast is from Scout Design Studio's perspective, I can come in and we help, when we set this up with a customer, we help them kind of customize their styles and just make it look exactly how they want. But if I wanted to, change a little bit, a little detail here and there on how it's looking, we make it really easy in here to come in and change your styles, change the logo that's up here in the corner, change the tag icons, etc. And then the last thing I'll show too inside of this open house portal is managing spaces. So when I click manage spaces, you can see they have 2 showrooms. They basically updated their showroom. I'll click on this version of the showroom. And as I scroll down, you can see I have a few options here. So they just elected to have 1 room inside of their showroom. But if they wanted to split that up into multiple rooms or areas inside of the showroom, those would appear here. And I'll keep scrolling and you can see all of the products that have been tagged in this space. And if I click load more, it'll show me more products that have been tagged. And then you can see the product groups that have been tagged and informational tags, I guess, non-product tags that appear in the space. So we make it really easy to basically see all of the information, all of the product tags, et cetera, that have been added to a space. We make it easy to see all those and manage all of those right here. I'd love to show you in just a second about how so we talked about how to keep product data up to date, but it's important to also know that we can make all of that product data available in the tagging process, which speeds things up pretty significantly. So as I scroll down and I see products in this space, I'll click add products. I'll choose a room. The only room in this one is the showroom here. And I'm taken to the add product screen, but there's an option here for me to use a connected store, which I just showed. We have Scout Design Studio, Shopify connected here. Oops, let me just move this real fast. So what you can see here is I can now add products directly inside of the showroom from right here. And I have noticed in this space, there was a product over here that has not been tagged yet. And that is this caviar imperial beluga sign right here. So I just want to show you an example of what tagging this sign would look like if you were working for Scout Design Studio. Let me get a better view of it. So on the left side, what I'll do is I'll click choose product. And then what I'll do is I'll search. So I'm searching my product catalog right now. So I know this has the word caviar in it. And I search caviar, and it looks like this is the large caviar imperial sculpture right here. And I can either choose an existing tag, excuse me. I can either choose an existing tag in the space to represent that product, or I can actually add a new tag. So I click add new tag, and I can place this tag right here close to the product. And then this little button just saves the best view of that product. You can tag up to 9 products at a time. And so I will click right here. Looks like this product actually appears twice. So I'll just go ahead, tag the same product, this version, click new tag, tag it right there, save the view. And anyways, like I said, you can tag up to 9 at a time. I'll click next. And those products have been added to the space. So as you can tell, Dan, you have tagged a lot of Matterport spaces before. Because we have that product catalog connected directly to the Matterport tagging experience, you don't have to copy and paste any of that product data. You just click a product, you choose your product, and you place a tag, and all of that data that represents that product is now added to that Matter tag and will actually be available to you when you're viewing the 3D experience. So we're pretty excited about it because it saves a lot of time tagging, but then also keeping that product data up to date. We're working with a new client, and they are pretty similar to Scout Design Studio. They're a furniture company, and they have these huge showrooms. And they told us when they first started doing Matterport and tagging all of their showrooms, they said in order for them to tag a showroom and have all the product data available inside of it, it would take them about 2 weeks to do so, to have basically full-time someone 2 weeks, tagging that space and making the products available inside of the Matterport tour. And we just finished tagging a space with them. And we were able to cut that 2 weeks down to about 4 to 5 hours. So we want to cut it down even more than that, but some definite time savings, I guess, come from integrating your shopping platform with Openhaus. So let me show, I guess, a couple examples inside of our Openhaus portal as well, from Scout Design Studio. So I think what's important is sometimes I think we could be better at sharing Matterport experiences, sharing Matterport tours. And what I mean by that is making them available inside of an Instagram story or inside of a web page or inside of a mobile app. And inside of your Openhaus portal, when I'm looking at this space right here, I can actually click this share button and I can get a few different options for sharing. So I can get a URL for an iframe. I can embed it on a web page, share it using a link, share it using a QR code, or I can embed it in WordPress. And I showed you how we have the rooms and the products here. You can do basically the same options. So if I shared up here, it would just kind of share the entire space and you would just be taken directly to where the tour starts. But for rooms, I can do the same thing. So imagine there was multiple rooms in this space. I click share. I have these same sharing options, but the difference is that it will actually just share the room instead of the entire space. We'll actually start the tour inside of that room. And same here with products. If I click share using a link, instead of just starting the tour anywhere randomly or where the tour starting location is, if I share using this products button right here, it will actually start the tour by taking me directly to that product's location. And so, like I said, that's important because these Matterport experiences, they're a lot to digest for the generic consumer, but you can kind of picture maybe Scout Design Studio, they create an Instagram story talking about this amble sofa, and with their Openhaus portal, it's really easy if they wanted to let their Instagram followers see that amble sofa inside of their showroom. They can come here, click share using a link, and they can copy this link right here. And then when I go view that experience on Instagram or view this link on Instagram, it will take me directly to that sofa. I think that kind of, I guess, covers the basics for persona number 2, Dan, from the perspective of a retailer. But anything you can think of that I missed here, or any questions?
Yes, could you go back to the front page of the portal?
Yes.
There were some other elements there. Could you talk about what is a live event and how will that work? And when is that coming?
Yes, great question. So we will be supporting live events inside of Matterport spaces. We're starting to do some beta testing on that in May. And so, am I still sharing my screen?
Oh, I took you out of sharing. I'm sorry. Was there something else you wanted to show while talking about that?
Nope. I just want to make sure I didn't mess something up.
Nope.
So yeah, starting in May, we'll start doing some beta testing with live shopping experiences, live events inside of a space. And so what that will allow a Openhaus user to do is inside of the Openhaus portal, they can click on the live events section and schedule a live stream event inside of their space. They'll pick a day and a time and what space it will be inside of. And then on that date and time, they can actually host a live stream shopping event inside of their space. So I think a good example of what this will look like is that first example I showed you of Molly's living room. The video that was playing up in the corner was a pre-recorded video that Molly created. But when we support live stream shopping events inside of these Openhaus spaces, you can picture that pre-recorded video will actually be replaced with a live stream. So it'll be really, really fun, really engaging. Molly can basically walk around and interact with her followers or her audience as they're actually walking around the space virtually. So as I mentioned, we're testing this in May with a few influencers and a couple of retailers that have said they're interested in it. But May will still be kind of our beta testing period, but we have room, I guess, for a couple other people that may be interested in beta testing. So if live events kind of resonates with you, or maybe a client that you have, we'd definitely love to add you to the beta testing in May.
Carson, before we move on to Matterport Pros, excuse me. I think your pollen from Texas has made its way to Atlanta. The live streaming feature we've been discussing in terms of retail, shopping, e-commerce. I could imagine the Open House platform has other verticals that play nice with Open House. So just as an example, what is your vision for Open House live streaming meets real estate for sale or lease or rent?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, our vision for that is it can kind of be summed up in, we want to support, I think when you think of live streaming, you think of, most of the time you think of a one-to-many, like one person streaming to dozens or hundreds of people. But we're building our live stream product out in a way that can make it be a more private, intimate conversation between one-to-one or one-to-few people. And I think that really has a couple of great applications. One is in a real estate sense. If you have a real estate property that you would like to do virtual showings with, we would love to help, I guess, real estate agents do that. It's kind of already built into the core of our product that we would support that. And so for commercial real estate or residential real estate or any property really that you have a need to be virtually inside of that Matterport tour with someone, we definitely want to support that. And I think go ahead.
If I'm a real estate agent and I have a open house on Sunday from 2 to 4 p.m., and that's a physical open house, I might have a member of our team do the virtual open house at the same time.
Exactly. Yep. And I think where this one-to-one or one-to-few live event application exists too is with a brand that has high ticket items. So really expensive furniture or even vehicles, any retail or showroom location that has high ticket items. I think there is a need and a desire. We've had people request, the ability to basically take a customer in to a showroom and virtually and walk around a showroom, look at products together and chat about those, because that customer wants kind of a white glove shopping experience. And so I think that's kind of right in line with the type of experience you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned integrations with shopping platforms like Shopify, BigCommerce, Magento, even other platforms. Are there other kinds of integrations that Open House is doing with other third parties?
Yeah, that's a great question. One integration that we're focused on right now is actually AR product models. And I actually had a tab pulled up here. I can kind of show you what that looks like, but
yeah, that'd be great.
Let's see here.
So you mentioned AR, augmented reality. I imagine if we're looking at a piece of furniture and we're curious, what does that furniture look like in our physical home? So if I'm in my living room and you were to call up a piece of furniture, I imagine what you're about to demo is an augmented reality experience where I could see a specific piece of furniture augmented into my actual physical living room that I am in.
Yeah, exactly. You're spot on there, Dan. So we think, Open House is a really, a really useful tool because for a retailer or a brand, because it helps provide more context to a furniture product. So naturally, because if I'm shopping this couch, for example, I'm going to have a lot more buyer confidence in this couch, purchasing it from this brand. If I can walk around and see it styled in someone's home or in a showroom, I get a lot more buyer confidence in the product I'm buying. And this helps brands reduce returns, it helps them reduce churn, etc. Because I actually know a lot more about the product that I'm about to purchase. But a step even above that, viewing it in someone else's space or viewing it in a showroom is actually being able to view it in your own. And so what we've done is there's a company called SeekXR that we integrate with, but we're also integrating with other AR modeling platforms. And inside of this product tag right here for this couch, you can see there's actually an extra button than we saw in some of the earlier examples. I still have my add to cart button, but I actually have my view in your space button. When I click on this, what it does is it will actually pull up the AR model of this product. So I can, kind of mess around with it on here, spin it around, see what it's all about. But I can actually, if I'm viewing this on my phone or even on the computer, I can actually preview it in my space. So I'll click view in your space, and I'm given a QR code that you can actually scan on your phone. And what it will allow you to do is, using your smartphone, place that AR model inside of your own living room to see, what this couch might look like if you were to add it to your living room. So I encourage anyone who's watching I'll even zoom in a little bit so the QR code's bigger, but this is fully functional right now. You can scan this QR code with your phone and preview this couch inside of your space. And so
it's going to be too big for my studio, I believe. But that's awesome. So even if you're watching WGAN-TV live at 5 on demand on a different day, will that QR code still work?
Yes. Yep. So these QR codes are persistent. And so basically, this QR code, if you watch this recording, it should work the same as if you're watching it live right now. So
okay, great. So let's close that. And that means that is it the manufacturer of that sofa or that retail store? Someone has had to work with the SeekXR platform to digitize that piece of furniture, and that becomes another field in the database?
Yep, correct. So Seek is just an example of one AR platform that we partnered with, but essentially, when we approach a brand, say like Scout Design Studio or another, physical goods brand, we make it really easy with either Seek or one of our other partners to create those AR models. So if you have them already, we can integrate them with your 3D shopping experiences. If you don't have AR models of your products, but you do want them, then we make it really easy to do that either through us or one of our partners. And then I guess
just parenthetically, is that any harder than downloading an app that creates 3D models of physical objects and taking a bazillion pictures around the object, and then those pictures get stitched together to form that 3D model? Is that essentially what's happening?
Yep, that's exactly what's happening.
So it's not that far. It's not a leap to say that a client could actually do that with their product. It's not, maybe if you're talking to IKEA, maybe they have the entire library of every piece of furniture and knickknack as a 3D model. But for a piece of furniture that maybe is antique, there's no CAD file that exists when that piece of furniture was created. It's still possible to use an everyday app to create a 3D model. It's not an overwhelming experience.
Yes, exactly. And that's a great point, is that most of this AR 3D modeling that happens now is actually done using technology like you described. It's not done, most of it is not being used from the CAD file that was created when they were designing the product initially. Most of it's actually being created aftermarket, meaning they'll take a physical object, either using a phone or whatever camera, a LiDAR supported camera. They'll scan the object and turn that into a 3D model. And I think there's Sketchfab, there's SeekXR, there's lots of different providers that help create, help a company do this. But I think what some of the challenges are is, what is the CDN for that? Meaning, what is the content delivery network? So it's one thing to actually create the 3D model, but actually being able to manage several hundred of those.
So it needs to be on a platform where it's hosted, just like a video is hosted on YouTube or Vimeo. The 3D object needs to be hosted on a platform, say like Sketchfab, and then served up and inserted. So there's a lot of back end magic taking place at Open House to make what you just showed us with the QR code easy, fast, and seamless to see that sofa in my studio and immediately know that it's not going to fit.
Exactly.
Saving the retailer the expense of shipping it to me and me shipping it back.
Yep, exactly. And I guess just technically speaking, you know, how that works for us is similar to how you have a product thumbnail URL or a price. You know, just when you're thinking about this product in a database like Open House's database, we just have a simple field that allows the URL to that AR model. And then we use that to make it really easy to display in that product pop-up that you just saw.
Okay, cool. Carson, that whole augmented reality conversation was sparked by the question, are there any other integrations that Open House is doing? So I want to ask that question again. Are there yet other integrations that you're working on today?
Yes, definitely. I think the other one that I think is worth noting right now is everything shopping we've talked about up to this point has been physical products. We have multiple clients that were, I guess, multiple pre-clients, people that we are talking with before they become our clients that have needs to actually sell digital goods inside of their space. And so that includes a couple of things. One, that can be actually selling a software subscription, or actually, you know, purchasing a digital good, meaning like a 3D object or a NFT. And so we are in talks, I guess, with a couple of brands that have those requirements. And so we're scoping that out technically, and I'm sure that's going to be something we offer in the future. The near future is actually the ability to place a digital object inside of the space and purchase that inside of that space. So.
Okay, cool. Anything in particular for interior designers in terms of integrations?
Yeah, so we have worked with a few different interior design firms up to this point. Most of it has been in the context of they have their own showroom where they have products curated. We are working right now with a company called Side Door, and Side Door is actually what's the best way to describe? Basically, what Side Door does is they help aggregate all of the different furniture suppliers that are out there, and then help interior designers sell those furniture suppliers products to their design clients. And so we actually integrate with Side Door and their platform. So if an interior designer has a showroom or a home that they've designed, we work with Side Door and that interior designer to identify what the product is and who the supplier is, and then also make those products purchasable in an e-commerce sense for their design clients.
So I could imagine if I was an interior decorator, an interior designer, that essentially I get to pick objects, furniture, that somebody else is managing the description, the inventory. I don't have to have my own, I don't need to stock 27 sofas in my living room ready to ship. When someone places an order, there's actually a third-party company that takes care of everything you just talked about, which is we have it in inventory and we can ship it for you, and we can give you all the product description and all the photography related to it. So exactly. All of a sudden, it sounds like I could be an interior designer and all of a sudden have an entirely new revenue stream, not just the house that I designed, the interior design that I did for a client, but now anybody could be buying everything that's in that house, but I didn't have to figure out how to do that. There's a third-party company that does that.
Yeah.
Side Door.
Exactly. Yep. And we integrate.
Side Door, Side Doors.
Singular, Side Door.
Side Door. Okay.
Yep. And so, yeah, we have a great relationship with Side Door and integrate with them. And like you said, Dan, I think what's cool for an interior designer is there's so many different reasons why they would use Matterport for a record of their work, as, you know, a portfolio, a 3D portfolio of their work, et cetera. But by helping them actually locate the manufacturer of those products and tag them inside and make it shoppable, it allows that Matterport tour to actually be a revenue generating asset as well. So just beyond the historical or the archive benefits, it can actually be a new revenue stream, a passive revenue stream.
Awesome. I'm a Matterport service provider, a Matterport Pro. I've just looked at this presentation on Open House. What does this mean to me? What should I be thinking as I look at Open House?
Yeah, totally. So inside of the Open House portal, what I showed you thus far is basically from the perspective of being a single retailer or a single person that has one brand. However, we're really excited about what we call Open House Pro, and it's basically a new version of Open House, our Open House portal product, but it's more self-serve and basically built for Matterport service providers to be able to leverage all of the features of Open House that we've talked about, but for their clients. And so when I was walking around our Open House portal, kind of showing you, if you don't mind, Dan, I can actually just show us again here. I think it's—
Yes, please. That would be great.
Okay, let's see. Right here. Okay, so I'm back inside of my Open House portal. I guess picture yourself, instead of being at Scout Design Studio, picture yourself being a Matterport service provider. So it says, welcome back, Matterport service provider. You can see right here, I have this accounts option. So I'll click manage accounts. And because Scout Design Studio is only using Open House for themselves, they only have one account. But as a Matterport service provider, you actually can create an account for all of your clients inside of your Open House portal. So if I click add account right here, it's really easy for me to add a client account, and that will appear right here in my listed accounts. And why that's important is because, as I showed you here, if I scroll down and I click on custom styles, I'll choose the account that I want to manage custom styles for. So imagine I've Scout Design Studio is one of my clients, and a real estate agent is another one of my clients. And I also have a hospitality group as another one of my clients. All of your client accounts would actually appear here. So I can actually manage the styles of all of my client accounts. And so I can come and change how the tour looks for that client, change what tags look like, change corner radiuses, all of these different details to help that match the client's styling. And then I can actually help manage commerce for that client if that's a need for them, et cetera. And so essentially what Open House Pro is it takes our Open House portal experience and makes it more self-serve for a Matterport service provider so that they can leverage all of these tools that we've created for their clients.
So I have about 1,000 questions based on that. The first is, can I, as a Matterport service provider, add my client's shopping cart API to manage this? Is that all I need to do in order to enable e-commerce? So today Shopify is one of the platforms supported. If I have a store that's using Shopify, am I just asking them for their Shopify API key?
Yeah, great question. So you actually don't even need to share API keys. So if you are working with a client that uses Shopify, essentially what you would do is that client can add you as a collaborator on their Shopify store. And so if I click on our Manage Commerce button and I go to that client, I can actually add the Open House app. So we have a Shopify app. That's how it works. So you would actually just using authentication, add that app to the client's Shopify store, and that's what would sync up.
Okay. So magically, if I'm a Matterport service provider, I don't really understand shopping carts and any of this stuff. The key thing is all I need to do is ask the client to add me as a collaborator invite me to Shopify as a collaborator, I'll get an email that'll have everything I need to fill out the open house ad shopping platform.
Yes, exactly. And then if a client isn't using Shopify, it's almost even simpler than that, because you just ask your client, can you send me a product, a CSV file with all of your product information, and you can actually upload a product CSV for your client.
So there's two options. One is if today, Thursday, April 21st, 2022, your client's using Shopify, great, easy peasy, invite me as a collaborator. BigCommerce is coming soon. Magento is coming soon. Other platforms are probably coming soon. So in the meantime, or even if a client just manages their inventory some other way, just ask them for a .csv file, import it, and then build out the tagging experience.
Yep.
Is there a collaborator piece within Openhaus as a Matterport Pro that I can now say to the client, here's your back end for you to go tag all your products?
Yes. So we are working on that right now. It's not available yet, but essentially, you remember that managed space page I showed you where I could see all the products and everything in the space. We're working on making that be kind of like its own independent page that either with a passcode or just a collaborator account, exactly, you could share that with your client. They could go in and help tag, or they can go in and get those sharing options that I demonstrated.
Right. So excuse me, Carson. So essentially, coming soon, depending on where you are with your client and which platform they're using, a Matterport Pro could either offer soup to nuts, or just soup, or just nuts. What I mean by that is if you work with a store and they would rather you take over the entire experience of tagging, updating, managing that whole process, you could. But if you're a Matterport service provider and you don't want to be in that business, or your client doesn't want you to do that, then all you need to do is enable the account. Coming soon, they'll have a collaborator page. They can upload, if they, the client, could upload, this is what I want as my Matter tag to look like this. Mm-hmm. Here's where I upload my logo for my store. This is the color palette that I want. This is the fonts that I want. So that could either be done by the photographer, or it could be done by the store. So for Matterport Pro, you kind of have a choice of how much service you want to provide to a client. If it was me, I would charge for all that service. So I think that that's a revenue generating opportunity for a Matterport Pro. Or if the client wants to do it, or I really don't want to be in that business, I'm happy to shoot the space, but then enable this open house experience for the client. So I'm going to guess there's two different open house accounts. So as a photographer, I probably need an account to do what we've just said, but I'm guessing my client also needs an open house account as well.
Yep, exactly. And so, and like I said, we're working on that. And essentially, it will be a simplified version of the portal that we showed you. Basically, you can kind of picture it just being access to that one managed space page. And then we're going back and forth between, do we just provide access to that based on a passcode, or do we provide access to that based on they actually have to create with their email and password a collaborator account for that specific space? But yeah.
Okay. So a couple things coming soon. We really wanted to do this show sooner than later, because this is like so super exciting that even before the paint dries at the open house, obviously you already have clients banging away at the system, et cetera. But I just thought it would be really helpful for everyone to get an opportunity to know open house sooner than later. So if I'm a Matterport Pro, how can I get started? What's the easiest way for me to experience open house?
Yeah, the easiest way to get started is by going to openhouse.app, openhouse.app/pro. And basically, I think it's a good point, Dan, that you said kind of the paint's still drying, if you will, because our goal with Open House Pro is we as Open House can only get to so many clients, but the Matterport service providers out there are the ones that are actually creating the bulk of all Matterport spaces. And so we just want to create the best experience possible for Matterport service providers. And so there's a lot of feedback that goes into that. So if you go to openhouse.app/pro, we're basically just slow rolling pros into the product. So there's a form on there you'll fill out. It'll add you to our wait list. And then each week we're kind of onboarding white glove style, really hands-on, helping pros start to use Open House so we can learn ourselves and learn how this better applies to Matterport service providers, but then just make sure they have a great experience. But
I'm a Matterport Pro. I sign up. You onboard me. Is there a charge? Is it? Do you make your money off the retailer? Is there a free trial? How does that all work?
Yep. So we have a 30-day free trial right now. And our pricing right now is, I would say, artificially low right now, just because we want to get Matterport service providers in the door learning about it. But right now we charge $20 a month. But there is a 30-day free trial on that. But like I said, I guess I will fair warn that we will be increasing those prices significantly in the coming weeks. And so if you want that 30-day trial and that low $20 a month price grandfathered in, we'd really encourage you to join the wait list as soon as you can, because from the feedback we've got, we're definitely going to be increasing those prices just because people are loving the product and getting a lot of value out of it. So.
And so Open House has made it super easy for Matterport service provider to get a 30-day free trial, no credit card necessary. It's $20 a month. After that, if you decide to stay, and oh, by the way, that's whether you are managing one account or 2 or 5 or 10 of your clients using Open House. For the photographer, the amount's going to stay the same. There'll be some charge for for your client that will get billed directly by Open House, but it's super easy to manage. And I think what I should say while you're mentioning money, if you are a We Get Around Network standard or premium member, you get the free use of Open House Pro. So yes. If you're a WGAN standard or premium member, there is a form to fill out that activates that for you. So that's I think is an awesome opportunity. I guess what I was thinking is a Matterport service provider, you could look at this as this overlay of your Matterport space, and there's lots of ways to trick out a space where you now have the ability to do custom Matter tags. And I'm just going to guess that somehow if I open my Matterport tour within the Open House platform and it already has tags, Matter tags, those tags are automatically going to have the new style tag. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep. So you can think of, for if you have an existing Matterport space and you add it to your Open House account, yep, it will. If those tags are existing in your Matterport space already, the styles and the tags, et cetera, that you set up in your Open House account will just be applied to that existing Matterport space already, whether or not you added those tags via Open House or you previously added them.
So that's pretty cool right there. You can you're just looking for custom Matter tags. You can do that for each of your clients, have something different. And then also obviously control a logo in the top left corner and the brand colors of your client. So it's an easy, fast, and seamless way to overlay content in, and shopping cart is obviously something that can be added, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a client that's using the shopping cart feature. in order to take advantage of Open House as a Matterport Pro.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a great point, Dan, because the shopping cart feature that we've demoed so far, it only appears if there's products that have been added to the space. And so all of the custom styles, et cetera, we're working with several clients that actually don't have any products tagged in their space, but they wanted to take advantage of a video in the corner, custom styles, et cetera. And I think, Dan, when I think about using Open House Pro and the value it can provide for a Matterport service provider, I think it's kind of twofold. One is, from the conversations we've had with Matterport service providers so far, they have said that almost all of their clients, except for maybe some very specific use cases, but all of their clients have indicated that they would pay at least a little bit extra in order for that Matterport tour to be on brand, in order for it to be customized, as opposed to just kind of the naked Matterport tour viewing experience. That's point number one. Is we've seen Matterport service providers be able to increase their revenue from existing clients by basically offering the Open House version of the tour as a premium version of the Matterport tour they're creating. And then I think point number two is that, our goal at Open House is we're actually helping these Matterport service providers basically open a whole new industry or a whole new segment of their clientele that previously I don't think there has been much interest for, and that is retail shopping experiences inside of a Matterport tour. I think just the experience up to this point of creating a Matterport tour, or even walking around Matterport tour up to this point, has been
your audio dropped out a little bit. Maybe if you could just double check your setting on your audio, Carson.
Is that better?
Yep, thank you.
Sorry about that. I think
I want to pick up on what you're describing, because my initial impression of Open House from the filter, from the lens of a Matterport Pro, oh my gosh, this does three amazing things. First, as you were, I think, about to say, if you've ever added matter tags in quantity and worked with a client, you know that has been a total nightmare. So a problem or challenge that Open House solves for a Matterport Pro that is interested in annotating a space with tags is, it's now easy, fast, and seamless to add this shopping experience, whether it's 10, 100, 1,000 products in a tour. And if you never have done this for a client, you haven't felt the pain of when the client comes back and says, well, the price has changed. I no longer have that item available for sale. The description has changed. There's so many things that change. And if you would, even if you were charging for that service, then as you mentioned, where you had one client that was doing the back end that were taking 2 weeks for something that eventually took them 4 hours using the Open House platform, it's as different as night and day. So the first is, if you have clients where you're managing matter tags for them for shopping experiences, boom, solves that. More importantly, you probably have clients that you have not, or potential clients that you haven't decided to go after. I know for me, working on a museum, and I went through the pain of everything having to be labeled. It was like, and stuff changed. That now this opens the door. And I think on your website, in addition to e-commerce and shopping, you've identified, and retail, trade shows, media, entertainment, interior design, real estate. There's lots of categories that have a need for dynamic tagging, particularly if it's managed through a Shopify platform for shopping. So I think this just says, if you're a Matterport service provider, run, don't walk to start calling on retail stores, anyone that has shopping, whether it's an interior designer that now recognizes this, or you mentioned influencers, if you're lucky enough to be associated with an influencer, or shopping, e-commerce, this adds so much, Open House adds so much value to the Matterport experience, both for three audiences: for the retail store that wants to do shopping, that looked at Matterport in the past and said, nah, it's not going to work, it's too cumbersome. Two, for the Matterport Pro, says, not too cumbersome, I don't want to get involved in that. And three, from the consumer standpoint, where you'd be clicking on a traditional Matter tag and exiting the experience. Now you stay within the whole experience for your whole shopping cart. So I think if you're a Matterport Pro, you should be like jumping out of your seat with the excitement, looking at the Open House platform as, one, helping you with existing clients that have Matter tags, and it's been a nightmare managing the shopping experience. Two, it opens up the door for all kinds of new potential clients, particularly related to shopping. And three, it's for Matterport Pro, it's priced so affordably on a fixed subscription monthly that you now can differentiate yourselves from other Matterport service providers that are in your same market competing with you, because you now have elevated your tour to be on brand for your clients, their logo, their colors, their fonts, their tags. So I get excited looking at the Open House platform of what you've taken us through. Carson, is from a Matterport Pro's perspective, is there anything to add on that topic?
No, I don't think so. I think you summarized it up really, really well. And then I'll just reiterate, like, I think our goal, we've been through, the pain and the work of what a lot of Matterport service providers have with clients. And essentially, we've built Open House in a way for our internal team to be able to create these types of experiences quickly and efficiently as possible. And so what we're trying to do with Open House Pro is actually kind of open the door, I guess, if you will, to help Matterport service providers do the same. And so the paint is not dry whatsoever. We're early on in Open House Pro. And so we're just looking for Matterport service providers who want to kind of really create the ultimate product that they can for creating custom, shopping or not shopping, but, custom branded, custom tagged, et cetera, experiences for their clients. And so would love for you to join the wait list and, help us do that.
If you're a Matterport Pro, go to openhaus.app/pro. That's openhaus.app/pro. If you want to come in the front door because you are a retailer, e-commerce, trade show, any other category, go to openhaus.app, openhaus.app. Look at the menu up at the top and go through the lens of what kind of business you are, whether you're a retailer, trade show, e-commerce, media, entertainment, so forth. Carson, before we say bye, was there anything you felt we haven't covered? Any question I haven't asked you that I should have asked?
No, I don't think so. And if anybody has direct questions, we are pretty good at responding to our email, and I just encourage you to reach out. You can reach out either to Carson@openhaus.app or team, TEAM, team@openhaus.app, and would love to connect.
And I would encourage you to go to openhaus.app/pro or openhaus.app. There's forms online to fill out the form, send in your info, get contacted. And again, if you're a Matterport Pro, it's a no-brainer. Just sign up, or if you're a WGAN Standard Premium member, you get the free use of Open House Pro. And we didn't talk about pricing, but I think suffice to say, if you're not a Matterport Pro and you're a retailer and you want to find out, about pricing or get a deep dive demo in some aspect that we didn't do today, go to openhaus.app, fill out the form, and schedule a meeting.
Exactly. Yep. I think for non-Matterport service providers, pricing really depends on the features and the requirements of your initial project. So it all starts with a conversation, and we try to make it work for any budget. So,
Carson, thanks for being on the show today.
Dan, I really appreciate it. Thanks.
We've been visiting with Carson Clement. Carson is one of the co-founders of Openhaus. And for Carson in Waco, Texas, I'm Dan Smigrod in Atlanta, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum, and you've been watching WGAN-TV live